Welcome to the third episode of Completely Cricket. Hosting this episode today is myself, Avinash Ehathasan. Alongside me we have Sam Francombe, current under-14 Middlesex batsman. Today we have a busy lineup of topics to talk to you about, including the racism in English cricket, Tim Payne's resignation and more. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, let's start with Tim Payne resigning. So, in case you don't know, the reason why Tim Paine resigned a few days ago is due to a scandal involving him texting a Cricket Tasmania employee in 2017. I think this was kept pretty shut up. Like, I hadn't heard of it. And I've been following cricket, so it's a bit of a surprise. Sam, who do you think is going to be the next Australian captain?
To be honest, I can't see it being anyone other than Pat Cummins. Vice captain at the moment, he seems to be the favourite, but to be honest, I can't see him going in as long-term captain. I think they're going to have to find someone who's a bit because of someone who's in the team all the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's an incredible bowler, but they've got so many good bowlers that their rotation is quite, they rotate their bowlers quite a lot. So if you've got him as your captain, you're gonna have to pick him for every game, and he could easily get injured, and then you've got to go with someone else. So I think they've got to find someone who's constantly in there as a batsman, probably.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, you're missing, at least with Tim Paine, you had the angle that the keeper has from behind the stump. So in terms of bowling, he can give good decisions. That's why a lot of captains are generally either batsmen or wicketkeeper batsmen. But an interesting stat that is that Australia haven't actually picked a bowler as a captain since the 60s. So
since the 60s?
Yeah, so more than nearly 60 years. It's crazy. So it shows how much they prefer batsmen and wicketkeeper batsmen. But if you were to pick a batsman, who would you pick as Australian captain?
That's the thing. I don't really know. I don't think they've got anyone that stands out. It's very much so like if we took Joe Root out of our team, who would we pick as captain? Because everyone would go to Jimmy Anderson, but he's going to be rotated out too much because we don't have a batsman in our team that's in our team every single test match. We don't have our Alistair Cook anymore. We don't have our Andrew Strauss anymore. We need someone to step up and sort of stay in our team for ages. So I think for Australia, it's a tricky one because you can't go back to Steve Smith. You can't go back to David Warner because of what's happened in the past. So they're going to have to find someone. Potentially, it's a bold choice. He's young, but Marnus Labuschagne, I think at the moment he's too young, but in the future, I think he could definitely be someone that takes it.
Yeah, if Marnus Labuschagne can keep up that form that he showed over the last couple of years and just develop more on the leadership type of things. If Pat Cummins, for example, becomes the captain, he could be a vice, for example. Just given that experience at taking more responsibility. Long term, I think that's the way to go. But there's another question that I think a lot of people are asking is, will Tim Paine be actually kept in the team or will he be dropped? Because it's going to be quite awkward if he's kept in the team after these allegations and scandals that have been revealed recently.
He has to go, in my opinion, because I think the only reason he was in the team to begin with is because of how he's sort of took on the temporary captain after the sandpaper scandal, and I think they sort of felt their loyalty to him to keep him in the team. Because think about it, he's what? He hasn't scored a Test century ever. His high score is what, 93 or something like that. And
seriously?
His high score is like 93 in Test cricket, and he's probably the 7th best wicketkeeper that they have. So now that he's no longer captain, where's his place in the tean? Like there isn't one, and it's just pointless to keep him in.
Yeah, I agree because realistically, if you're gonna have a keeper, you want a keeper who can bat. Most keepers nowadays can will bat in positions like 5, 6, 7. So with Tim Paine, he's 36 as well. You have to consider that. He's probably coming towards the end of his career. No, I don't think he has enough. After all these allegations, I don't think anyone's going to be really backing him to come back strong. Like at least with Steve Smith, David Warner, they had time in them and they were really good batsmen. So obviously they've had their opportunity and both of them come back pretty well. Whereas with Tim Paine, I don't think so. I think realistically he's probably going to retire from international cricket, probably play some local Australian cricket for a bit, and then that's pretty much his career.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to happen as well.
Okay, let's go on to the next topic, which is the recently finished T20 World Cup. Our surprise winners this year were Australia. I don't think anyone really expected them to get to the final, and even more unlikely was them winning, but they have, and they did it in a pretty emphatic fashion, beating New Zealand pretty comfortably. What did you think of that, Sam?
I wasn't very happy, to be honest. I just don't really understand the fact how a team can go 5 T20 series before the World Cup and lose all of them. I think it was, or something like that.
Yeah.
Go into it, get absolutely smashed by England, and then still win the whole thing. I mean, that's why T20 cricket frustrates me sometimes, because I feel like it's a lottery half the time. You can lose 1 or 2 wickets very quickly, and the whole thing changes so easily.
Yeah, no, especially in this World Cup with the toss being such an important factor, it was even more of a, one team was sort of, in a way, guaranteed a win if they won the toss, and Australia did win the toss, and Australia did win in the end. So that in itself is, I think, annoyed a lot of people, a lot of fans watching, because it didn't feel, it just didn't feel natural enough. Yeah, so
and I think that's why. Sorry.
Yes, I was just going to say, do we have a batsman or batsman of the season, batsman of the World Cup? Who do you think probably batted the best?
For me, it's probably pretty even between the 2 Pakistan openers. I think they were both. I didn't watch too much of it because I don't get that involved with T20 watching it, because it's so short that you've got to find the time. But I've seen highlights, and I think the Pakistan batsmen were just ridiculous, especially in that game against India. I mean, just crazy the way they knocked the ball all over the place and just smashed everyone.
Yeah, I think it's just I don't think many people. Everyone knew Pakistan had good individual talent. Everyone knew how good the 2 openers were, but no one really expected them to go further than the Super 12 in the tournament. And for them to get to the semi-finals, for them to actually be one of the favourites in the semi-finals, obviously didn't make it to the final, but to show how good they were on an international stage against other really good teams was pretty impressive. It was pretty impressive. Let's go on to best bowler of the World Cup. You have any suggestions, Sam?
Adam Zampa was quite good. I think for a young player, he's a bit inconsistent still at the moment, a bit like Pakistan. But I think when he performs, he's a really, really good bowler.
Yeah, no, Adam Zampa. I agree with the whole part about the inconsistency. I think he's sort of starting to cement his place in the team, and considering Australia don't really have many other very good leg spinners, so I think he's starting to show his true colours in a way. For me, I think the bowler of the season would be Wanindu Hasaranga, also a leg spinner. I think he's taken the most wickets this calendar year. I think it's something in the high 30s, which is incredible. He's and this is not even just against associate cricket or lower end teams. These are against top teams like England. He's been bowling really well, and an element of his game is his consistency. His line length is pretty accurate. So I was actually so surprised as a Sri Lankan fan. I was thinking coming into this World Cup, we probably don't have a very good chance of making a big impact in the Super 12. But actually, Sri Lanka did play some really good games, and they lost some tight games that if they had won, they could have actually pushed for the semis.
Yeah. Sri Lankan bias there. What? No, he was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so next World Cup is the T20 2022 World Cup in Australia. So I think there's a thought. After England's semi-final loss this World Cup, do they have a shot of winning next World Cup? where their players will have another year of experience, and and I think there'll be a bit more of some more strength in their middle order after another year of T20s. Do you think England will have a good shot of winning it?
Yeah, to be honest, I think they'll be even more favourites than they were for this World Cup, because next year, if you look at the likes of Stokes coming back potentially even Jofra Archer, although I'm quite worried that he's never actually going to play cricket again. So maybe not for next year, but and then all of those, Tamal Mills, hopefully if he stays fit, I think they could be they could be the best team in the world by a mile and just absolutely demolish everyone in the competition. I think it could either go that way or it's going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah, no, I think there is still a chance of Owen Morgan to be a dual World Cup holder, holding a 2019 World Cup ODI, and if they win the 2022 World Cup. But I think Jofra Archer is probably going to be the key with his injury setbacks. I've also it's been really shocking because he hasn't he's having regular surgery. I'm not sure. There's no time frame on when he'll be back. Yeah. Hopefully March next year. I think there's a England vs West Indies series, but even that it's looking unlikely because of his injuries. He's a really, really important player of the England team.
Yeah, I think it seems to be he has an injury, he has a surgery. You think he's coming back. It gets worse. He has another surgery. You think he's coming back, and then it gets worse. It just repeats over and over again. And I'm worried he's not going to be back fully fit bowling 95-mile-an-hour short balls at Steve Smith ever again, because that was the most exciting moment of the Ashes, and he brings he's a different level in the England team to all the other bowlers. He's just got pace, which is what no England bowlers have apart from Mark Wood. But yeah, Mark Wood just keeps getting injured.
I know. I think England's injury problem, especially at key moments like Jason Roy in the semis, Tyler Mills, because realistically, our pace bowlers are going to be Chris Wokes, Chris Jordan, Tyler Mills, and then possibly Jofra Archer. Out of them, the real death bowlers are Chris Jordan and Jofra Archer. And Chris Jordan in the semi. Yeah, he's not. He's shown that he can. He's not as scary as in death bowling as consistent as he was, I don't know, 4 years ago. So Jofra Archer is highly relied upon. We basically need Jofra Archer if we want to show that we're a serious competitor. So if he does not come back for another year, for example, or even 2 years, I think he'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, you just got to look at the World Cup to see that how important he is. I mean, how young he was, and the way he bowled that over. That he got hit for 6 and he came back and he just put it on the right spot every single time. I mean, I don't know how he did it. Any other bowler for England, then it would have lost that game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, let's go on to next topic, which is another person who will be sorely missed from cricket. AB de Villiers has retired from all forms of cricket, including franchise cricket, so we won't see him on our screens in the IPL. What do you think about that, Sam?
I think it's obviously quite sad because he's completely different to everyone else. I mean, he is the definition of built different, because you can get a ball any place and he'll absolutely smash it out of the park. And he's just such a ridiculously good batsman in his prime. I remember going to a Middlesex versus Surrey game. All I wanted to see was AB de Villiers bat. I was just, when's AB de Villiers coming in the whole time? And I think that's sort of something that happens around the world. At RCB, they all want to see Kohli, but they also want to see AB de Villiers. And so I think he's going to be properly missed.
Yeah, no, I was really hoping that there was rumours that he was going to play in the just finished World Cup, but obviously we didn't. But was hoping to see him one more time. I think this is sort of like the end of an era, because we've obviously Chris Gale retired, Dwayne Bravo, AB de Villiers, Virat Kohli's not T20 captain anymore. He's still going to be around the T20 setup as a batsman, but it's sort of an end of an era. So AB de Villiers with his power batting, the way I would think of it is like a sort of, he's got the six hitting ability of Chris Gale plus the like invention of Josh Butler. I think those are like two players. If you combine them, you sort of get an AB de Villiers. So yeah.
Can I just? This is slightly off the topic of AB de Villiers, but that point about Virat Kohli and how he's not going to be captain. How was anyone supposed to captain Virat Kohli?
No, you're right.
How is that going to work? I mean, you sit there in the dressing room. I'm sorry if this offends anyone, but he strikes me as the most arrogant cricketer that there is. And so you sit there in the dressing room, you got someone trying to make a team talk, and he's probably just sitting there playing with his bat, just like, I don't need to listen to this guy. And the only person I can think that's going to do it is Rohit Sharma, because he doesn't care about Kohli's opinion. But I just think it's going to be impossible to captain him.
Yeah, no, because I agree with you about Rohit Sharma is probably the only one who can sort of like keep going, because Virat Kohli is such a big personality. He shows himself off as like, a dominating person. So like, how can you have him as a batsman, and without him, he's probably going to interject with his own ideas, and it's basically just going to be a real headache for the upcoming captain, who's probably going to be Rohit Sharma. And then if you think about once Rohit Sharma, obviously his career he's not in the decline, but he's towards a later part of his career. So if you've got if Virat Kohli continues to play, then you're going to need a younger captain. Then I don't know how they're going to deal with it as well. It's going to be a struggle. Let's go on to our final topic for today, which is racism in English cricket. So, as you probably already way well know, there's been a lot of allegations against former English players as well as current county players, including Alex Hales, Michael Vaughan, and Tim Bresnan, to name a few. It's been a bit of a shocker, I think, because if we go back a year, there was one allegation by Azim Rafiq, and now we've got a boatload of allegations against players across all counties and international players. Why suddenly now?
Well, yeah, why suddenly now? I think once one person starts to speak out, everyone starts speaking out. I think it was really important for someone to speak up, because I think there were a lot of people hiding behind, worried, I don't really want to say anything. But now that he said something, and he seems to be gaining a lot of support from everyone, I think everyone else realizes that they can speak about it as well.
Yeah, but there's sort of another dimension to this story, is that Azim Rafiq himself has been accused of saying anti-Jewish stuff. So in 2011, which it slightly undermines his credibility in a way, but it also shows that like anyone and everyone in this current world, with obviously our whole, people saying whatever they want about the people, like everyone is sort of has part to play and is sort of been blamed. So I don't know how they're going to solve it, because the more and more people who get accused of it, the more and more institutions that need to do something about it, and then it's going to be the next couple of months is going to be a bit hectic for English cricket while they try and sort it out before the next season starts.
Yeah, but there's one thing I heard. I think it was him. He said it, that I found actually quite interesting, is that I think it's about 30% of club cricketers are of, an Asian ethnicity, whereas in professional cricket it's something like 3%. And I mean, I play in my team at Middlesex, and it's probably half and half split, if not more, people that are Asian in my cricket team. And I would never ever want to say anything to offend them, but it just makes me confused how you can have so many at junior level but not at senior level. And I think it could just be a coincidence that it seems to be that the English people go on and they seem to just progress more. But I think it's also because those people who are Asian probably fall out of love with the game, and that could be due to racism in cricket.
No, yeah, that's a shocking statistic. Yeah, I think you're right. There's probably got to do something to do with racism, because otherwise, how would it drastically reduce? And if if there is an avenue into making money from cricket. There's an avenue to making a living through cricket, through franchise cricket, through county cricket. So it's not as if it's not possible to make, to make a living and to live your life with playing cricket. I think it's also got to do with it might have something to do with like the mentality, the general mentality of Asian people, which is more of a get a more traditional job as such. But there's a lot of factors into play. But it will be really interesting what institutions like counties and the ECB do to make sure they keep up try and encourage Asian people to continue cricket, because a lot of these players, because if, for example, players in your Middlesex team, a lot of these players are really good. In order to qualify to play for Middlesex under-14s, they need to be pretty good. So you'll be losing a lot of talent if they just drop out at a certain age, 15, 16.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they are. Well, our fast bowler, he's ridiculous, and he's so good, and I can't see how there aren't more of him in senior level. How, I look at the Middlesex senior team, and I see one or two Asian players in there, and I don't understand it, how you can go from 30 to 3. I think that something has to be going on there. And I'm not saying you should do what I think is it South Africa still do it, where you've got to have a certain number of black players in their team.
Yeah, they do.
I'm not saying you should do anything like that, because I don't think that's right, because that's you've got to put out your strongest team, but you've got to find a way to support those players who are being racially abused, and you've got to get that out of cricket completely, because it shouldn't be. I mean, you've got to get it out of the world, because it shouldn't be a thing at all.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's very well said. We should not racism in cricket should 100% not exist, because cricket is such a diverse sport, considering the amount of countries that play it, and the countries, and it's not just, obviously I think cricket was initiated in England, but the countries that dominate it, for example, India, Pakistan, then you've got New Zealand, Australia, England. You've got the countries that are dominant aren't just it's countries. There are Asian countries in there, so I think racism, it really realistically shouldn't exist. But
that's a good point. Everyone in the world plays cricket. Around the world, everyone plays cricket. In Europe, they play cricket. In Asia, they play cricket. In Africa, they play cricket. They play it in the Caribbean. They play it in New Zealand, Australia. It's played all around the world. Whereas games such as rugby or football aren't really played as much all around the world. They're played a lot in certain places. So it is the most diverse sport, and that's what makes it great, because you make friends that aren't exactly the same as you, that have different beliefs as you, and they have different cultural they have cultural differences to you, and that's partly why I love cricket so much.
Yeah, that's really well said. I think that's it from us today. Thank you, Sam, for being on the show.